So, hey, if you're joining us here online for maybe the first time, maybe you're here today because somebody told you about the content we're covering this weekend, or maybe told you about the person that I'm interviewing today, you've probably got some questions about this group of people, and I want to let you know something. This is not a group of people that used to be people like you, and we're not a group of people who just put up with or tolerate people like you, and this is not a group of people who try to fix or change people like you. What we are is a group of people just like you. Every single person that's listening to this broadcast, Eddie, myself, everybody who's going to see this in the future, we've all got parts of our story that we wish we could do over, parts I wish I could change or edit, parts of my story that I wish I could go back and highlight and delete and forget they ever happened. So when we're having this conversation today, I just want you to know about the kind of people you're around, and you're among people who are just like you. And so I'm glad you're here to join us today. We're having a conversation. This is a unique, first time ever kind of reality for Journey Church for me. I don't do interviews because most people are like, dude, I don't want to talk to you when nobody's listening, let alone when you're recording. So so that kind of is a new thing for us. But I want to introduce you to Eddie Penney. I'll give you the 50,000 foot flyover of what I know about Eddie's life. But Eddie was in the Marines. Eddie was joined the Navy after the Marines, wound up in the Navy SEALs, endeavored to become part of DevGru. He'll explain all that stuff later. This past Christmas, this is Easter, sorry. This past Christmas, a friend of mine said, hey, you've got to read this book. And I was off for a few days, so I'm like, sure, why not? I read it in 2 days, read it again 4 days later. Listened to the audio recording, which I got to be honest was like the book times 5. It was fantastic. Unbelievable stuff. And I'm like, I just immediately felt God was going, you've got to have conversations with this guy in real life for people in West Tennessee and at Journey. So that's why we're here. So I'd like to introduce Eddie Penney. This is Eddie. Say, hey, Eddie.
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you getting the opportunity to come on here and speak with you.
It's so cool, man. We're certainly appreciative of it. So we'll jump right in. Listen, I have a storied history of watching every possible military movie, but that is the extent of my military experience. So I learned how to speak military stuff from watching SEAL Team on TV. So I know nothing. Like I'm looking at it going, I don't know, this guy could kill me over the computer. So I'm a little
no.
I'm a little intimidated, but hey, so like I said a bunch of words about Marines and Navy and stuff like that. Tell me that stuff in like stuff that our guys and ladies who serve are going to go, oh, I know what he's talking about. That's not BS. So.
Yeah. So when I was 17, I joined the Marine Corps. I was an 0311, so infantry. I did 4 years in the Marines. I wanted a little bit more, switched over to the Navy and went straight into to BUDS, which is out in Coronado, California, which is Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training School. Went out there, did 6 months, and then did my jump school, then did SQT, which is SEAL Qualified Training, and then went to SEAL Team 2. I did 2 deployments, so deployed overseas to Iraq, and the second one was to Iraq and Afghanistan. And then I tried out for our Tier 1 elite unit, which is better known as SEAL Team 6. Got accepted there, and then did I believe 5 more deployments with them. And then in the midst of my career, when I was at the pinnacle, the tip of the spear in the special operations community, I got custody of 3 children, and that just totally changed my life. And that's where God came in and kind of did a hostage rescue on my soul.
Dude, that is killer. So like those are the trajectory changing moments. We just recently did a series we called Pivot. These pivot points where life didn't move a lot, but it changed direction dramatically. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, like, what are the things that, like, if you look back and you go, man, what was the pivot point that made me go, hey, military, you know what I should do is go put my life on the line for the freedom of people who don't thank me for it. So what was the pivot point that caused that?
Gotcha. I remember being at a Cincinnati Reds game with my mom. It was during Operation Desert Storm. So it was, I guess that'd be around 90. And it was a night game. And after the national anthem, they had all the banners up that said support our troops, and had the little yellow ribbons. And I think it was 2 or 3 fighter jets fly over, and just the thunder of their engines just like rocked my body. And I remember tugging on my mom, like, I'm going to go do that. And it really wasn't to be a pilot. I wanted to be in the military. I didn't understand the spec ops community or really anything. I just like, I want to serve overseas. And I had no idea, obviously, what that meant, but that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome, man. You know, like it's crazy when you think about what happens, like circumstances and little things that just go, that's what I want to do. Like you just hear those things and it rattles in you. So man, you know, just for me, where were you on 9/11? What was that like for you?
I was in buds. I was in second phase. So I was in dive phase. I was probably around month 3 of training. And I was actually in the cafeteria walking out, about to set my tray down with all my food. And I remember just everyone was frozen. I'm like, it was just it was just not normal. So I like put my tray down, like, hey, bud, what's going on? And they're like, they just point to the TV, because we had TVs that lined the cafeteria. And I looked up and you could see, I think it was the first tower was on, smoking. So that was 9/11. So like right then training got real. I mean, it was real before, but it got real, whatever that even is.
Well, it's a thing, man. Everything got real for everybody that day. I can't imagine being in a place like that,
right?
You know, really dealing with those things and going, man, this is what's up. So,
right.
Wow, that's insane. So, you know, you're in those, in those kind of situations, you're ramping up from buds forward. You're ramping up. Training is it's more real than it's ever been. With, of course, now motivation. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the culture changed a lot. Tell me about what that was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it started out with basic stuff like doing the correct push-up. And then they're like, okay, get dressed in this amount of time, sort of very basic stuff, but they would just work you. If you didn't do exactly what you were told, you would do calisthenics, you would do sprints, you would go hit the beach, get cold, roll around in the sand, get sugar cookied, what they call, just so you get shaped, and just the discomfort of getting out of your element. And then through training, you learn how to go over the beach, doing reconnaissance, and then start learning how to dive, open circuit, closed circuit, daytime, nighttime, putting on mines on the bottom of ships. And then you're learning how to shoot. Then you're learning how to shoot and move with a team, then a squad, which is multiple teams, using explosives, blowing up certain obstacles. And it just gets packed on, boom, boom. And then you turn into this operator, and then, you get to your team, and it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. It keeps going, much like life, right? Is that we keep going, or we go on this journey with Christ. We're always learning more. We're always refining. We're always getting stronger. We're always like, I need to fix this. And it was cool. It was awesome. It was always different, always something.
That's so that process of just constantly building on, and then probably in many ways revealing what needs to be honed out of you. Like just
great word.
Pull apart. Yeah, that's some killer stuff. I mean, just unbelievable to me. And you spent, and so from there you go to the SEAL teams. I mean, like you're now a Navy SEAL, like our nation's like, elite fighters, and like you're part of that SEAL team too, if I'm right. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, I got went there, and just to put it out there, Navy SEALs are humans just like anyone else. We just got really good training. We have very good assets that support us, and we work together well as a team. So that's what makes the teams really good. I mean, we're just dudes. There's really nothing special, minus the mindset when we go through training and go overseas. Is like we're just not going to quit. Like we will not do it. But we're still dudes, the same as everyone else. Just our minds may be a little bit different.
Yeah. It's unique about that. I mean, like there's a unique mindset, and I know that's a big word. It's a crucial word. Like really, the mindset that goes into being a Navy SEAL is unique from the mindset that goes into being a different part of the military machine. All the same value, just a unique mindset. And so, talk a little bit about how that mindset, kind of tweaks. So what are the pivot points between, say, Buds, SEAL Team 2 to, SEAL Team 6, those operate? What are the things that kind of shifted for you?
I guess the cool thing about Buds, I always tell guys, is like you learn about your body and you learn more importantly about your brain. I used to think it was like 30 physical, 70 mind. Now I'd say it's about 90% mental and 10% your body, because they're going to smoke your body
Wow.
no matter what. But the thing is, you get to learn how good and awesome we are created.
Oh, wow.
When you learn that, you're like, bring it on. Like, let's go. And it doesn't, I mean, did I fall into the ego prideful stage? Absolutely. Did I get a reality check on that? Absolutely. But the truth is that we are created so amazing, both physically and mentally. And really just evil likes to come in the flesh, the world of the devil, and say, no, you can't do this. And then, I don't think so, because that's not what our Father says. And you take it, and then going on to team 2, you just refining, you're forging, you're becoming a better weapon. And then it just carries on as you go to, our tier 1 elite unit. It just continued. It never ends. It just never ends. You never have arrived. You've never gotten to the top of the mountain, because once you get to the top of the mountain, there's another mountain. It never stops.
There's a great metaphor. We'll get to that in a minute. I wrote it down because we need to talk. You keep pulling up these things. I'm like, oh, let's talk about that. But we got to get to it in a minute. Some folks listening to this are going, man, this guy clearly is a very dedicated person, a person who goes like, man, I see what I want. I'm focused on it. I want to accomplish it. And clearly there have been things in your life where you go, man, I was focused at Buds, dedicated to it, said absolutely no, I won't quit. But where are the points where you go, man, I wish I would have been more focused and dedicated? You go, man, even in those times before Jesus enters the scene, they're parts of all of our lives. Yeah. Your family.
My family, for sure. I was very self-absorbed. It was all about me. And I believed the lie of like, hey, we need to make an ultimate operator to go overseas and fight. Because Iraq and Afghanistan were both going off. Africa was starting to pick up. Some other parts of the world were picking up. So there was just like, you're going to combat. It's like, okay, I don't want to die. And then after a certain point, you're like, okay, if I do, I really don't care, because I'm like, hey, this is my warrior's death. And these are the things you start to believe when you're immersed in it. And but I was very self-absorbed. And my family, I would like to say, was on the back burner, but to be quite honest with you, I don't even know if they were in the kitchen. And that sucks. Wow. Like, looking back at that, I'm like, man, I failed really hard at that. So when you actually gave your introduction, I'm right there with you, because I'm just a dude, and I made so many mistakes, especially when it came to my family. I struggle in that area. If it comes to my job or getting something done or any kind of task, I'm on point. You don't need to tell me twice. When it comes to communication or empathizing or showing feelings and emotions, I struggle with that. I really do. And it sucks, because for decades I had to or I wouldn't say I had to, naturally you shut down certain things, and I have to relearn. I'm almost like a toddler relearning certain things. Like, okay, these are what feelings are. It's like, oh my gosh, like, it's so much easier the other way. So we all got our stuff, like, and I'm no different than the next guy. No different.
And when you were going through all that, like the training, the deployments, all that stuff, and really your whole military career, Jesus wasn't on the radar, right? If I understand right.
Jesus came into the radar when I got my children, maybe just a little bit before. That's when he started coming in. And then when I was at the bottom of the bottle, pills, pornography, I mean, anything and everything that's probably not good. That's when I, went to a camp and, accepted the Lord and brought him in. And then, and I would love to say it was just like that, my whole life changed, but that would just be a lie. But things did get better, and then it got a little worse, and it got to the point where I actually had a gun in my hand, and I was going to shoot myself. And then I learned about spiritual darkness, and I was like, wait a second, I've been getting played for a very long time, and still, knowing what I know now about spiritual darkness, I still get played sometimes. I'm like, wait a second, what does the truth say about this? So yeah, but it's like now walking with obedience, like actually obeying what I hear and dying to myself, which is still a struggle, and doing my best to submit to him. It's gotten so much better. I mean, you know, we talk about addictions. I mean, it was able to give up pornography, was able to get up drinking, was able to get up pill popping. He was able to give up anything that has been like cussing. Like I rarely cuss now. I just heard like, hey, we need to stop cussing. I'm like, what? That was like my culture for decades.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just amazing when you invite him in and let him take control, which is hard to do, especially for the prideful, which I was and still sometimes fall back to. Man, he can do some miracles, and it is just beautiful to watch. It is just like, what are you going to do next? Like, it's like, are you showing off again? And please show me more.
That's it, man. So you were in a pretty dark place in your story,
I was.
and you got invited to a retreat. That retreat, by the way, is something that really it's close to many of us around Journey. So tell us a little bit about what it was, just to name it, you know, that kind of stuff, and tell us a little bit about.
It was a 3-day retreat by John Eldridge. It was actually a satellite church, but True North Ministries actually put out of OKC, Oklahoma City, put it on. And it was just kind of, you know, John Eldridge is very good about showing, hey, like we've kind of taken the man out of men today. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I mean, I've been surrounded by men doing, I guess we would, as society would say, man stuff. But really, when you're neglecting your family, you ain't doing man stuff, dude. You're just a joke. And that's what I was. And but he, you know, he talks about how there's a warrior in us and we need to, and he kind of interjects the Bible and how Christ is kind of like the hero, kind of saves us. And I understood it. And he used like film, he used like Braveheart, The Patriot, Kingdom of Heaven, like certain movies to explain, you know, the message. And I understood that because I mean, we watch movies all the time when we were overseas. So it was clicking, and then I started seeing people getting like crying and like getting taken out. It was what I would call it. And I'm like, dude, quit, like gather yourself. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's other men here. And then I was like, man, what's going on? And then they said, hey, let's go pray. And I'm like, whoa, like, what do you mean pray? And then I reluctantly said, I'm here. I'm pretty much at the bottom of the barrel right now. At least I feel it. And I tried to go, you know, do my best to do what they said. And I prayed, and just these coincidences, I would call, just kept happening one after another on this 3-day weekend. And it continued to where I left, and I pulled up to the stoplight, and I'm like, if I'm saved, like, tell me I'm saved. Sorry, I get a little choked up here. Because I'm like, I need to see it in my face. I mean, I wasn't testing God, but at the same time, I think I was testing God, which I know we're not supposed to do now, but you don't know what you don't know at the time. And I was like, tell me I'm saved. I'm like, I mean, I've killed people. I've done this, I've adultery. Like you name it. I've done it all. Show me I'm saved. Like the rest of like, I'm just going to go back and be me. And I was putting up the stoplight. There was a car wash to the side, and one word popped up on a sign. And it said saved, SAVED, one word, not multiple, one word. And it was like time stood still. And I just broke. I'm like, I'm yours. I'm like, that's it. And did I fall out of disobedience shortly after? I did, because I struggled with pornography. I still struggled with drinking. I struggled with communication. I struggled with a bunch of other stuff that I can't remember, but I was doing. I mean, I wasn't walking in obedience like I should. And I didn't understand. I didn't understand my enemy, which is why I feel a calling, like for me and Unafraid, is like, hey, we need to call out the enemy. And a lot of people, if I just look back at myself, I didn't understand the flesh. What exactly does that mean? I didn't understand the world. What exactly does that mean? And I didn't understand Satan and his little cronies and what exactly they're capable of doing. I didn't understand any of this because no one told me. They'll say the word spiritual warfare and kind of leave it at that. And there's way more that is going on that leads to addictions, certain things that we are in bondage to that we want to break away from. And until we learn how to we know our enemy. I mean, it's just like overseas. I have got to know what I'm fighting. I want to know if the enemy is wearing a suicide vest. Why? Because I'm not going to get close to him. I'm going to take him out from afar because I don't want to get blown up. It's the same thing. I need to know what my enemy is capable of. What is my What are they using on me? Because we're all different. We all got a different flavor that they're just giving us the candy and we're just taking it. And I was taking it. And sometimes like still, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, stop. No, not this time. Get back. And you know, guys, we don't talk about it in general in the church, is because it's not flowing with the love, the mercy, the grace, all wonderful things that we must embrace, because Christ and loving God is first. But there is a spiritual enemy, and we've got to understand that darkness, or else we will continue to get taken out. We will. I went through marriages, not just one, but a couple, and doing the same stuff over and over. And I still find myself going back to the same communication styles, putting up my walls, not empathizing, not learning how to feel, not doing certain things, but the growth has got to be daily. Like, we've got to grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically daily. It's never ending. Just like in Buds or becoming an operator, it was non-stop. Walking with Christ is the same thing. And that is beautiful, because there's so much more for us to know. So much more. We can't even fathom it.
No, you're absolutely right. And most of the time when we talk, especially in church world, we go saved, right? Oh, you got saved, or I got saved when I was 7, that kind of thing. We talk about it like it's a one-time decision that we made on a carpet square, or walked an aisle, or gotten some water or something. And we talk about it like I'm saved, so I get to go to heaven when I die. But there's this huge gap between the line I crossed and going to heaven one day. And and what I've come to understand looking at scripture is that, but what God is saving us from is one thing versus saving us for. He's saving us for heaven, for sure. Granted, but man, there is so much life that God is saving us in right now, like real time, like you're talking about being in this, like this constant relationship with God, where he's peeling back layers of the onion and revealing, hey, let's work on this now, and I, we were just talking, before we kind of hit the record button, about the struggle that people have in addiction, and the being merciful and caring about, like, this is so real in your life. It is the, like the Matrix. It is the curtain that's pulled over your eyes that you see the world through, and God pulling back those things. Talk a little bit about your struggle through that. I mean, like
that's funny. That curtain. I talk about the Matrix. I like, in my mind, I literally see, like, do you want a pill? Like, do you want to take the red pill and really see what's going on? And looking back, when I was a lukewarm Christian, saying, yeah, I'm saved, I believe in Jesus Christ, and confessing it with my mouth, but not repenting, not tearing down the things that were drawing me into sin, and not listening, knowing that I shouldn't go do this, but I do it anyways. When I did what I was supposed to do and actually listened to him, my whole life changed. It got better. I always looked at it as like, man, can we do anything here? Like, nope, can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do this. And that's not true. That goes back to the mindset things. If my child was running out into a busy street, I would flip out. I'd be like, no, don't do that. That's why we teach them, look to your left, look to your right, look back to your left, again, as before you cross the street. Don't touch the stove. Why do we tell them not to touch the stove? So they don't burn their hand, because we care. We want to protect them. The Father is doing the exact same thing to us. And I always viewed it as, can we do anything around here? And it's like, and I'll just do this one example, like, and I didn't do this, but I understand it now, is like premarital sex. Like, don't have sex until you're married. Like, why can we not have, like, hey, we've got to test the waters, like, see if we're compatible, all these things. But what we fail to realize in society, back to the world, right, is painted this picture that everything's okay, is we don't understand that from that, STDs are born. From that, children or women being pregnant, and abortions come from that. All these things stem. People, all right, well, I'm not gonna have an abortion, I'm gonna put them into foster care. Now you have a child being not with their biological parents, and being raised in who knows what circumstance. There's consequences for these things, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, you can't do this. That's not what I'm saying. It's like, we've got to understand, it's like, well, you should be able to go have a drink, and yeah, you should be. But if you can't control yourself and you get behind the wheel every time you drink, no, you probably shouldn't drink. And if you every time you drink, you're finding yourself doing other stuff or texting or calling certain things and making certain things happen that probably shouldn't, then you probably should stop, because it leads to future things that are not good. You might be in the court. Why? Oh, well, I was totally tore up. I had to quit drinking because, to be honest with you, I couldn't stop at one or two. I wanted to have fun. So the Lord said, hey, we need to quit drinking. I was like, you sure about that? Because I can't do that, but you can. And I leaned on him and he took it away from me. I don't even want it. I can't believe the way I was.
What I love about the way you phrase that is that the Father says, we need to quit drinking. Now you need to stop doing that because it's too much fun. You're enjoying it too much.
He's right there with us.
It's a we thing, man.
Heck yeah.
It's a with, bro.
Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a powerful phrase. I mean, we need to quit drinking. We need to do this. And like you said, hey, we're not saying like God is up there with a don't do list. And it's all these are the things that are too much fun for you. He's going, these are the things that'll kill you. These are the things that'll take you out of the battle.
I care for you. I care for you. We've got to, and this took a long time for me to get. It's like, he really cares about me. Like he really does. When you embrace that, it's like, and then people automatically go to, and I used to do the same thing. I'm talking about myself here because I was the biggest hypocrite in the world. Is well, do I go through all these hard times? Why does this happen? And if I go back to buds, I had to go through some serious, rigorous, and tough training. That rigorous training made me the operator I was, where I could go overseas to anywhere, go to terrorist land and take it to them and destroy them. We have got to go through trials. It's the only way you're going to grow. We can look at James 1 and it lays it out there. Be thankful for the trials so we can grow in our endurance. I mean, that is like, I hold on to that. It's like, why am I going through this? Like, no, stop. I'm training right now. I love training. I'm getting better. Okay, cool. Yeah. But like, throw me a bone here or something, or like, and then that's where you're like, oh, pray. Okay, cool. Oh, thank you for that. And then it just releases like, oh, now I'm stronger now. And then we get to help someone else that's going through the same thing that we just went through. That is glory. That is glory.
Can you think of one thing in your life that is worth having that you've gotten that didn't come without pain, without trials, without temptation along the way? I mean, I can't think of a single thing that I've got that's worth having that
Only
wasn't
mistakes.
difficult to get. No,
only mistakes. That's a good one. Oh. Mistakes and bad choices are so easy, and they have consequences.
Yes. That's good, right?
That's the only thing. It's true. I mean, look at you. If you work out, you need that resistance. You need to tear the muscle fiber, and then it with good nutrition and sleep, it heals and you get stronger. It's all the same. It's only the same thing.
That's good. So hey, like somebody's listening right now, and they're going, okay, I'm thinking about this Jesus thing. I've, kind of been on the bubble. It's been arm's length for me. It was arm's length for Eddie, all this stuff. And there came the day when you come face to face with it and you're like, okay, I want more of this. What these guys have got, I thought it was interesting. He said they got taken out, but really what they were doing is getting taken in. They were experiencing it going, hey, I'm getting pulled into it.
Very true.
And we're going, hey, that feels like it. But so they're sitting there, right now, listening in the car, watching on a phone and going, what should I do next? Like, what's the thing you'd say, like, man, here's how you let the guard down. Here's what is it that you think would be valuable for somebody to hear?
I mean, if we go back to James 4, humble, submit, resist. And I still struggle to humble myself sometimes. It's very hard. I have questions with the Lord a lot of like, what does being humble mean to you? I think I'm being humble, but I don't think I'm being humbled. And just really humbling myself. And what I got was it's like, I am like I said, when I was in buds, how I realized that our mind and our body is so awesome. But I tried to quit drinking a lot of times by myself and I failed. When I invited him in and said, hey, I need you, I'm like pushing in on him and like, I need you to come in and do the awesomeness that you can do. Then he take it. And that is, I believe, is true. Being true humble is like knowing that you need him. He wants to be needed because we do need him. I mean, that's just believe it or not, that's just factual. And then just that submit piece, obey, listen. So if you're listening to this and out of this conversation, something pops up like, hey, I should probably quit doing this, or I should reach out to this, or I should probably tell this. That's what I would do. One step, one at a time. If you shouldn't be getting flooded with things to do. Yes, there's a flood of things to do, to confess, to return from. You're required to do step one. Whatever you hear, do that. God, and we go back to the reveal thing. I have learned that the Lord will not reveal more than you can handle. He will reveal what you need to do, and everyone is going to be different. I remember going to that camp. It's like, hey, we need to tithe. We need to serve at the church. You need to be in a men's group. There's like all these things. I'm like, I'm not, what? I'm like, I can't do all this stuff. And they were just giving options, but the enemy turns it by the time it hits my ear. And I got like, you have to do this or you're not a good Christian. I swear that's what I heard. That's not what they said, but that's what I heard. And for me, it was like,
that may have been what they said, to be fair.
It might have been. And for me, it was like, hey, start tithing, which would be, I think, the last thing.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I was like, okay. And I finally gave with a generous heart. I gave, and I can't believe I got to do this. I didn't do that. And literally 3 days later, my finances tripled. And I want to understand, the listeners to understand, I'm not saying your finances are going to triple. What I am saying is I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking you to give to anyone. I'm saying if you hear the Lord speak and say this or that, I highly recommend you do this or that. That's called submitting. That's obedience. That is when your life changes. That is when you find freedom. And that is better than anything this world will give you.
Well, if you think about it, like just the principle of it, like if I hold on to anything, whatever it is, whether it's my addiction or I hold on to money or I hold on to my pride, whatever it is, sure, nothing can get out of my hand, but nothing else can get in it either. So like when I finally just open up a hand and say, God, you take my pride, you take my addiction, you take my money, whatever it is, God has this ability to take away the parts that are hurting you and put things in that you needed. And he can't provide for us until we say, I am going to stop trying to provide for myself, whatever it is, financially, emotionally, chemically, whatever.
And all this stuff seems so simple. I'll just do this and listen to it. That's great. But you also got to remember, back to the initial thing of this, is we have an enemy, our fleshly self. Romans 7 discusses that perfectly. The world, just scroll media, enough said on that one. And then the devil. And what that spiritual darkness, they don't want you to experience this relationship with Christ. They don't want it. They want to steal. They want to accuse. They want to deter.
Steal, kill, and destroy, dude.
That's all they want. That's all they want. And
it's one of the best things John Eldridge said.
Yeah,
that's one of the best things. It is when he said, like, this: the enemy exists to steal, kill, and destroy, and unless you confront him, he just gets to. Yeah. Like I just that's stuck.
Peter
in my
laid
brain.
it out perfectly for you.
Yeah.
He told you.
Yeah, for sure, man. So far, read James chapter 4. So far, read James, Romans chapter.
Read all
7.
of James. It's not long. I would say James.
Oh yeah, it takes you 20 minutes, man.
Yeah, and Ephesians 6. For Ephesians 6 and Romans 7, putting those together and understanding the enemy is very good. Is very good. And then James is just my beauty. And then if you want to see the reality of life, go to Matthew 7. I mean, that's just like, it's very cut, boom. All right, roger that. Got you.
Sheep and goats.
So I can't just say with my, no, you can't. Sorry.
So powerful, man. So you said one more thing. We got to get back. It's one thing way back forever ago. You were talking about being overseas, being in the fight with people, and you understood your enemy. Like he's wearing a suicide vest, and you wanted to, like, I got to know what's in the suicide vest, so I know how far, what the tactical pieces of it. And you were talking about the connection to that with warfare, with real life, with being a man, doing manly things, not blowing stuff up isn't manly, but like fighting on behalf of your family. So talk a little bit about that real life warfare.
What I was talking about, like, bringing the two in with the fleshly war and like a suicide vest, is like I had to understand my enemy. If I didn't know that my enemy had a suicide vest on, I might go close to him and I'm walking to my death. If he clacks himself off, he's taking me with him, and he would be more than happy to do that. Well, the same thing is I have to understand my enemy, and I have to understand the enemy of the unseen world to understand what is going on, the spiritual darkness. You've got to understand what that looks like. How do they entice you? What are the whispers that you get? We've got to understand that. And that's not talked about. So you don't even know what it's going. A great analogy is if I go fishing and I use a blue lure and I'm casting it out there and nothing's biting. I'm going to change my lure. I might go to a new cove or a new spot in the lake or wherever I'm fishing, and maybe I'll put on a white lure. I start casting my white lure. I finally cast it in, the fish bite it. I'm not going to switch my lure because I've got something that's working. The devil is the fisherman. The fish are us. The lure is whatever they're enticing us with. It could be women, could be drinking, could be a certain addiction. It could be gambling, could be gossip, things that just get us. It could be media. Like what they know us because they're the watchers. They're watching. They see. They know us. They know us.
And that's the truth.
It is the truth.
And the enemy's been at this for millennia.
Yeah, it's a network. Yeah, it's not just one.
Absolutely.
Like Satan is not everywhere. He's not God. He's a created being.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. And you know, they have a, I mean, this is very in depth.
Yeah.
It's but it's a community. They work together. And they're here to destroy you. They're here to destroy you.
Yeah. So when we were talking a little bit ago, you mentioned 3 words, the flesh, the world, and the devil, that kind of summarize this whole battle mindset. How does Unafraid and this, the mindset of Unafraid go into those 3 things? And just that way, it kind of gives us a little bit of a practical understanding of it.
Just for like our 3 enemies, we've got our flesh, we've got the world, and then we've got the devil, which is actually a network. We gotta see that as that. Like flesh would be an example. I'm in an argument with my wife and I've really got a doozy. I gotta tell her. I just have to tell her. That would be my fleshly self. I mean, I still have influence of other things, but I know if I say what I say, it's going to feel good for about 0.2 seconds, but I'm going to have about a week or 2 of like repair time. That would be my fleshly self. Or a child. If I got a couple kids and I put a plate of cookies, I'm not going to have a problem for kids taking the cookies. I don't have to teach them to take the cookies. I do have to teach how to share. Like, hey, we get 2 each, not everyone, everyone goes to you. I have to teach that. That would be the flesh. And then the world is just like what the world says cool, like twerking, like this is cool, talking like this is cool, looking like this is cool, doing that, it's cool. No, it's like, you got to take that to the truth, which is what the Bible says, is that's what's cool. And because that will get you in a lot of trouble. It'll get you, from experience, that'll get you in a lot of trouble. So the world is not a really good influence. And the world is owned and ran and operated by the devil. And if you are in Christ, you are in the authority of Christ, not of the evil one. We are not of this world. And then you've got Satan, which is a created being. He's at the top, who is in Revelations 12 before Christ, day and night, accusing us, brothers and sisters of followers of Christ, of just pointing out our sins, so we give them the rights to harass us. And we've got to understand that there's a hierarchy. There's the devil, then he's got his second heaven bound angels, and it goes down to earthly bound. And it's like a hierarchy, just like a terrorist network overseas. It's the same thing, just unseen, seen. Exact same thing. And this is learn a lot from reading and studying scripture, but it's also from personal experience of walking through a sanctification process and seeing exactly what goes on. It's like whoosh, mind blow, but it's very real. And the church doesn't talk about it, which goes back to, I need the intel to know what my enemy has. And until you know what it is, you're going to fall right back where you were.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. So much more than we can really unearth in a little conversation here. But let me just wrap this up. A couple of things. One, a next step that you might consider if you're watching online. Tonight, we're having a follow-on event at 5 Journey Church is building 55 Allen Woods Lane, 3-Way, Tennessee. And love it if you'd be there, be a part of the conversation, a bigger, longer, and more in-depth conversation tonight. And then Eddie, of course, will be there. That's the key point of that. It's not me talking. It's a follow-on event with Eddie tonight at 5:30. Another thing you can do is read Eddie's book. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Unafraid. Right? I guess it's called Unafraid. Tell us a little bit about the book real fast.
So the book is kind of going from brief childhood, and then Marines briefly, and then going to the Navy, and then getting custody of my children and all the struggles I had, being the man in the flesh, thinking I was, and then getting my kids, realizing I was a little child, and the things I went through, and it's really Christ that kind of pulled me up and said, "Hey, let's go." And walking with him. And it's a emotional read from what I've gathered from readers that it's got
Absolutely. Yeah.
stuff for military, stuff for single parents, anyone that's dealing with addictions. I think
Yeah.
one thing that's good is there's a hot wash at the end of each chapter, and it kind of got some mindset self-improvement things. It's kind of looking back on my life during that chapter and be like, hey, I should have done this. And it's kind of a pass on of like, hey, just what I learned. We're very happy with it. It glorifies God, I believe. And that was the whole intent of the book. So it's a good read.
Agreed, man. I read it twice in the same week and a half, and it absolutely glorifies God. And for those of you who aren't readers, like you're just not like a delve in, read a ton of pages, super easy read. I mean, just super easy to turn the pages and go, I can't figure it out. I want to hear more. I want to hear more. And I agree totally. An emotionally charged book that helps people kind of identify ways they can move forward in their story, faith or otherwise. And so powerful stuff. So event tonight at 5. Eddie, thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this. I know this takes extra time away from your family, your business, a million other things going on. So thanks for doing that, dude. Anything else you want to say?
Anything to talk about God, I'm all about, man. I am just like that. This is my passion. I asked for it and he gave it to me. So no, I'm happy.
Awesome, man.
Can't wait to talk to guys tonight.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. We'll talk again later on. Thanks again, man.